All right, let's check this one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. On a test, 1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, good evening. I would 2024 Common Council meeting for the City of Delafield to order at 7 p.m. It's not. Do it again. Good evening. I would like to call the Common Council meeting for City of Delafield, August 19th, 2024 at 7 p.m. to order. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Molly, roll call, please.
Yep. Alderperson Henry.
Here.
Alderperson Schaefer.
Here.
Alderperson Wilkin.
Here.
Alderperson Price.
Here.
Alderperson Berg.
Here.
And then Alderperson Grimmer is excused this evening. Mayor Eicher.
Here.
Administrator Hafner.
Here.
Okay,
I'm here too.
Did I miss you?
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
all
Alderperson Valdy.
I'm here.
Sorry about that. I have an off
she gets
night.
she gets hers and Matt's salary. Okay, motion for the minutes, please, for the last meeting. Any motions or corrections?
I move to approve the minutes of our July 15th regular meeting.
I'll second.
I have a correction. In the attendance, it shows that I was present, but I was absent last month.
Okay, do the people making the motion agree with that as an amendment?
Yes.
All right, very good. Any other changes? Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, motion passes. Number 5, City of Delafield citizens' comments. Is there anybody here who wishes to speak to any items on the agenda? 3, 2, 1. Okay, citizens' comments are now closed. Item 6, consent agenda. There is no items on the consent agenda, so we'll go right to 7, boards, committees, and commission reports. Item 7A, licenses. Discussion and possible action regarding approval of the granting of a 2024 to 2025 reserve Class B liquor license and Class B beer license to Brunch LLC with issuance pending the payment of $30,000, reserve license initial issuance fee which shall be paid to the town of Delafield.
So just a quick refresher on this. Brunch applied for us to request a license from the town of Delafield nearly a year ago. We did get that agreement through. It's approved, and they're finally ready, close to a build-out, thinking they're going to be opening in October, so they're ready for their license. So this is just the final step in that process that we've already initiated. The reserve license fee, the initial issuance, this time goes to town of Delafield. If we get that license back at any point, it stays with us, and then it becomes our reserve license to reissue as we need.
Anyone like to make a motion to approve this?
I will move to approve. How do you want me to say it? How to approve?
Pretty much just read out what's in the,
Okay,
agenda
I
item.
move to approve the granting of the 2024-2025 Reserve Class B liquor license and Class B beer license to Brunch LLC with issuance pending the payment of the $30,000 reserve license initial issuance fee, which shall be paid to the town of Delafield.
A second.
thank you.
Any discussions or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Okay, liquor license has been granted. Thank you. You bet. Item 7A2, discussion and possible action regarding approval of AB 105 application for Brewfinity to serve alcohol at an event at Divine Redeemer on September 8th, 2024, as required by the Wisconsin Department of Revenue.
This is another situation similar to what we had at the beginning of the summer with the beer garden. Brewfinity is here to answer any questions. This is kind of a newer process for us, but this is a approval that is now required by the Department of Revenue for these types of events. Even though they're not establishing a full-time premise here in the city, the Department of Revenue is requiring the entities to get municipal approval in order to serve their beverages at these types of events.
I'll make a motion to approve the AB-105 application for Brewfinity to serve alcohol at the event of Divine Redeemer on September 8th, 2024, as required by the Wisconsin Department of Revenue.
Second.
Any discussions or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Okay, liquor license has been granted. You're here for that? You're welcome to stay if you'd like. Okay, item 7B, Plan Commission. Typically Alderman Grimmer, but I can take this in his absence. There's one item on here, ordinance number 833, ordinance to amend the text of Chapter 52 zoning ordinance of the municipal code, specifically Section 5225A and H, to modify the boathouse standards. And what this is since the boat club, I got this right?
Yeah, Club.
The yacht club is not a residence. Our ordinance requires they're a residence to have a boathouse, even though they're a boat club. So we just saw that as a insufficiency, so we added that as a possible way to get a boathouse on the lake. And there's a definition of what that is, and so that was recommended to the council unanimously by the Plan Commission.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the amendment to ordinance 833 and text of Chapter 52 zoning ordinance of the municipal code, specifically Section 52-25A and H, to modify the boathouse standards.
Second.
Any discussion?
Who had the second on that?
Paul?
Okay, thank you, Paul.
Questions, discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Abstentions? Okay, the boathouse can be legal use on a yacht club property. And for other items for the Plan Commission, we do have a meeting at the end of the month. There is at least one public hearing. Check the announcements online, and if you don't know where to look, go to our webpage, sign up for Notify Me, and you'll sign up for what you want to get emailed right in your inbox. Item 7C, Lake Welfare Committee, Alderman Price.
Yes, we met last Wednesday. A couple things for note. Lake Awareness meeting was set for September 12th at 6 p.m. at the Delafield American Legion. Instead of the yacht club, we wanted to get something larger. Can't take your boat to it, but at least it's larger. We'd also discussed the impervious surface amendment that we proposed for a change. We sent a motion to the Plan Commission to go with a 40% minimum pervious surface or 60% maximum impervious surface, which will match pretty much what the state law is for non-cities in the state. So I think that was a fair compromise. But then we also had some discussion on the parking lot at the Commodore. It's owned by a private person across the street, and they've asked to be able to do it 365 days a year. Our thought from a Lake Welfare Committee was, if that happens, we have no issue with that, but we do have an issue if it would ever be asphalted, because all it would be had an acre of asphalt running into the lake that we wanted to at least have some kind of a control on where that water might go if that's where it ends up. So that's all we had.
Okay, thanks. Item 7D, Park and Recreation Committee, Alderman Schaefer.
So we have, working on our Oakwood Park tree line planting along the roadway to give some separation. We're applying for a state matching grant for that as well. And working to coordinate with Public Works Committee on the hiking trail that's going through there, we hope soon. So we want to coordinate that with the planting so that nobody gets in each other's way. Second item, viewing platform on the Bark River along the Ice Age Trail segment of the Veterans Memorial Riverwalk. Figure that, you'll find it on a map. It's a beautiful platform along the river there on the south side of the river. That's finished. The installation of that's been completed. And Liberty Park live music series. So far, we are 60% ahead of last year on attendance. We had 2,600 attendees at the 6 concerts, and we have one left to go. That was the Supertramp tribute concert that was rain delayed. It's going to be September 5th, and so far so good on increasing the attendance at our Liberty Park Series.
Awesome. I'll
And
make,
thanks to all the volunteers that are making that happen. 'Cause it takes the city, it takes the Arts Foundation, and I think so far we're working well together.
thanks, Mark. And I'll make a comment. I was a skeptic on the viewing platform about how intrusive it would be on the river because it's a popular spot for, I actually saw a couple people leaving, assuming they might be taking graduation photos already for next year, because it's a popular spot, but it's really low. It gets you out on the corner. You can see up and down the river. It's really well done, and it looks like you can even get like a walker or wheelchair out onto there. So it was really, I'm impressed with how it turned out. So thanks for everyone involved with that. It's good stuff. Okay, 7E, Public Works Committee, Alderperson Wilkin.
The committee met Wednesday, August 7th, and two major issues of discussion. One is the extension of the walking, biking path up Genesee. That'll be coming to the council as part of the budget process. The other thing we discussed at length was traffic on Nagawicka Road. There was a lot of concern from the citizens over there about speed on Nagawicka, speed on Oakwood, speed particularly going around the curves. There have been a lot of incidents over there, according to a number of people that came and talked to us. And so we're trying to figure out something that will address that issue. Probably will not involve speed bumps because the noise involved there was very objectionable to a number of people that talked to us about it. So we're looking for solutions, and Chief Nygren and I might like to talk to you offline, get your input on that as well. That's all I have.
All right, great, thanks, Dirk. Delhart Commission, I'm trying to recall if there was a meeting between then and now. I don't think so. Yeah, so next meeting is in, we're gonna be finishing up the budget next meeting, and there's, just for what it's worth, upgrade is getting close to being completed, which is getting rid of chemicals, and I will have our general manager come to us and give us an overview of what that all entailed, and that when we're done to show you where the money went and why, so. 7G, Police Commission, Alderperson Valdy.
No meeting, no report.
We'll talk a little police later. 7H, Library Board, Alderperson Henry.
We're actually meeting tomorrow, so I don't have a report to the update from the library directors in there, if you'd like to see updates on the library.
Awesome. 7I, Zoning Board of Appeals.
No meeting, no report.
All right, thank you. J, Promotional and Tourism Commission.
We were supposed to meet on the 13th, but we were holding elections here, so we are meeting tomorrow morning at 7:30.
All right. Okay, 7K, Lake Country Fire and Rescue Commission. There was not a meeting that I know of. 7L, Lake Country Fire and Rescue Board. I do know that there was a meeting on the Fire and Rescue Board. They're going through the budget, and I have a rather lengthy report to give in my mayor's report, so buckle up. Okay, 7M, Deer Management Committee, Alderperson Wilkin.
The committee has not met since our last council meeting, but we will meet tomorrow night and Wednesday night, both. Tomorrow night is our regularly scheduled monthly meeting, and Wednesday night we'll get together to do some cleanup at the Frog Hollow location, which is over on the east side near Fishbones Restaurant, and also some cleanup at the brush pile.
All right, I believe we still have a vacancy there, and this is not really administrative role. This is really hands-on, where you get out there in the woods and move stuff. And
That's right.
So anyone who's interested in some labor and volunteering, getting to know people that like to help with deer in a certain kind of way, reach out to me or Molly in the office for how to fill out an application to join that committee.
Alderperson Wilkin, did you say you'll be doing cleanup this Wednesday?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, other commissions, committees, and boards, none that I know of. Unfinished business, following items, there are none. Okay, mayor's report. I'll take a couple things out of order if you don't mind. First of all, just recognition, appreciation of years of service for City of Delafield employees. We have two, Melissa Beck and Cassidy Hamill. Melissa has been with the library for 14 years and Cassidy's been with for 15. So stop at the library and say hi and thanks for their service. And then from there, we've got two appointments. First one is Greg Domino. I'd like to, I'm proposing an appointment of Greg Domino to the citizen member position of the Lake Welfare Committee vacated by Don Tills, term to expire 04/2026. He lives on the lake near St. John's Bay. So I'm looking for someone to approve that appointment.
I'll move to approve appointment of Greg Domino to the citizen member position of Lake Welfare.
I will second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Abstentions? Okay, welcome, Greg. And there is no replacing Don Tells, but Greg will bring his own perspective. 9C, confirm appointment of Kevin Maples to the citizen member resident position of the library board, vacated by Michelle Lutke, term to expire just in a few months here, for April 2025.
I will move to approve Kevin Maples to the citizen member resident position of the library board. Term to expire 4/25.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay, or abstentions? Okay, welcome, Kevin.
I have a older person looking for that, is that correct? Okay. It's kind of a tie, but I heard, okay.
Okay, and like I said, on here, I've got a, how did I frame it? Anyways, it's in the minutes here. Just to give a municipal leaders meeting review, and since our last budget passage, an update on the 2025 process status. If we all recall, I know Jacob is new to the council since our last Lake Country Fire and Rescue budget process, but we had a very trying process last time we went through this, last fall. And in an effort to try to make sure everyone's really up to speed, I want to give a synopsis of everything I've been involved in, so bear with me. And it's really in an effort to keep everyone informed, because if you recall, we spent a decent amount of time when we had a members meeting where we adjourned into a private session, and that wasn't received real well. I'm going to try to avoid that again, so I want to make sure everyone's on the same page, so this is going to take a minute or two. So since our last budget passage on November 15th of 2023 at the town of Delafield, this was a group meeting with most of the, when I refer to these municipal leader meetings, this would be for all 7 members. And typically we'd have the city administrator, the mayor, and their counterparts for whether it's town administrator, town president, village board president, et cetera. So there's representation from all the different municipalities unless I say otherwise. So November 15th at the town of Delafield last year, we met and discussed the desire to avoid a repeat of the contentiousness of the 2023 and 2024 budget issues and various finance methods. In particular, the fire fee and levy increase referendums were tools we needed to use that required more time to put in place than the calendar year really involved or allowed for. So that was rather hurried. So we're looking to avoid that. And the city made it clear that another IMA contract amendment would require negotiations on all 3 aspects of the funding formula, not just the limit. And we also all agreed that we all agreed to 3 meetings to discuss the IMA contract and funding options. And it was collectively suggested by the other municipalities at that meeting that the city of Delafield draft a funding proposal to suggest a change that might help with what are perceived inequities to the formula. So the subsequent meeting from that, there was a series of 3 that were arranged and dates were set at that time on November 15th. So then at the Village of Oconomowoc Lake on December 6th, the city of Delafield presented our proposal, and this was myself and I think Matt Grimmer might have even been there, but Mayor Atwell was there and Tom Hafner was there as well. So we presented a proposal that eliminated the fixed percentage portion of the formula, and it allowed the cap to be exceeded for 2025. And it also supported a budget for 2025 of over $4.8 million. There was lots of discussion from the leaders about the impact of the proposal. Everybody paid more in 2025 than in 2024. Some had no significant change over the existing formula, but there is also some with significant increases to some and decreases to others between the existing and proposed changes. So that was obviously met with some mixed reviews. The city expressed that there was an inequity with the existing formula and that the 65% fixed portion was set based on conditions that no longer existed, in particular the availability of volunteer and part-time firefighters, which we're all aware of. The city also expressed that the fixed portion made no sense when trying to explain it or being reasoned by rather intelligent, experienced financial professionals figuring out what's the logic behind these fixed percentages when there's so many dynamics involved with population and other things. So we're looking to get rid of that portion of the formula. Western Lakes formula was referenced as something to compare our proposal with and was going to be distributed before the next meeting for other people to compare. It's like, okay, well, what are our neighbors doing? How could this impact a good agreement or moving forward? So we all agreed to take that proposal back to our communities for feedback and discuss potential modifications or counter proposals at the next meeting. December, and I'm reading a lot because I want to get the dates and everything right. So December 20th, 2023, that was held here, a meeting of the municipal leaders. And unfortunately, notably absent were the town of Genesee and Village of Wales. Village of Wales canceled just after 4 p.m. the night before that meeting, stating that their board the night before declared that negotiations were at an impasse. And a motion at that meeting was made at their December 18th board meeting that passed to, quote, stick to the contract in place. The motion by trustee Reinbold to deny the proposed revised funding formula as submitted by the city of Delafield based on already having an agreement in place for 7 years for the department's funding. Seconded by trustee Meyernick, and it was passed. Later that same evening at 7:39, Town of Genesee Administrator and Chairperson Representative canceled in an email stating it was just bad timing to meet the next day. The meeting went on, however, with the 5 rest of the municipalities discussing various formula outcomes and other consolidated agreements. You know, so we looked at North Shore Fire, Western Lakes, and other ones in the state. Dan Niemer from Shaniqua had the most salient quote of the meeting, and that was, the change necessary is likely an outcome that everybody dislikes equally, if you recall that. The idea to engage a third-party consultant to study the dynamics of LCFR in our communities to make a recommendation on an equitable formula approaches was raised, and we all agreed to take them back to our communities. So just the idea, let's get a third set of eyes on this. Then the city expressed again the fact that breaking any of the IMA formula would require all 3 components to be on the table without an active discussion or plan for 2025 budget. There would not be time to go for a referendum in April. So if we didn't have a good plan in place, we risked the fact that we weren't going to be able to put something in front of the people that was going to significantly raise their taxes again without having something in place very, very soon, meaning like within weeks back in January. Well, this is December. The town of Delafield made it clear that they wouldn't consider any change in the formula until January 2026. Jim Morris, who's I believe he's the president or chair of the Lake Country Fire Board, he expressed frustration with the conclusion that it looks like we'll have to operate with a CPI plus 2% budget for 2025. And the city of Delafield, we committed to discuss the idea of increasing funding despite that conclusion at an upcoming council meeting. And subsequent to that, in February 2023, after a meeting by the council in January, Tom Hafner, our city administrator, sent an email to the entire municipal leader collective and everyone involved in these meetings, stating, the purpose of this email is to communicate to you regarding the City of Delafield Common Council decision in January about LCFR funding and a possible April referendum. It was an interesting discussion with various perspectives. There was a variety of perspectives on comfort level with going to referendum again, threshold for when we should go to referendum, et cetera. I would encourage you all to watch the discussion. So that was all still on YouTube. It's a January 15th meeting of 2024. It's nearly a 50-minute discussion. And some bullet points that Tom pointed out to the team was well, I'll take credit for this. City appreciated the willingness of our municipal partners to have the discussions, and Tim Eicher mentioned that everyone involved were good-intended people we're all trying to meet to solve a common problem with how we respond to this labor issue with the firefighters and trying to staff the level to improve the response times where they should be. And the unilateral declaration of being at an impasse after the first meeting of the 3 that were scheduled was a big disappointment because the remaining partners that were meeting were vetting different combinations of ideas, which included some really productive discussions about different combinations of formula changes. One of the most valid statements came out of the discussion: we need to come up with a formula adjustment that everyone equally dislikes. At the end of the second meeting, there was a general consensus that what they need to plan for right now is CPI plus 2% going into next year to see if something else can happen between now and then to make a change. The city wants an indefinite formula to ensure LCFR is sustainable perpetually rather than kicking the can each year until LCFR fails, with partners wanting to get out. Throughout the discussion, there was support voiced for the independent third-party analysis as a path to bring resolution to the current impasse. The 5 partners that attended the second meeting all expressed a willingness to move forward with that analysis. After a lot of back and forth, the council decided not to go to referendum in April and asked me, Tom, to communicate to our partners that the city's intention is to honor the contract as written and not approve a budget increase greater than CPI plus 2% unless there is movement by all partners on the independent third-party analysis of fire and EMS funding methodologies to bring logic or rationale to our funding methodology. And so again, that's the summary that Tom then sent to the meeting that I just described. And then subsequent emails between February 23rd that I just read and March 22nd from the multiple municipal leaders agreed to fund a third-party study, which we are doing. But Wales and Genesee also joined town of Delafield's opposition to any change in the IMA contract occurring before 2026 of January. And there's a good email thread for all this. I'm not trying to prove anything. I'm giving you all context of just where we're at in the budget process for LCFR. On May 9th, here in these chambers, all the municipal leaders met with the Wisconsin Policy Forum and agreed to contract them for a study. I'm sorry, this is town of Delafield. It was where we met. The earliest possible start date was in Q4 with results in time to discuss and negotiate as appropriate around December through February. Possibility if an increase was substantial that if we needed to go to referendum, that we'd have it in time for that. So that's the mode we're in right now with the study. On July 17th, then just 2 months later, there was a fire board budget meeting in the town of Delafield where a draft budget was presented, and that's available. I know the chief sent everyone links, but that budget that was presented proposes an increase of 22% or an amount over $900,000 to the existing budget. Whereas the IMA contract formula allows for just over $240,000, which is an increase of 5.9% approximately. The general overview of how the budget was developed and formatted was presented, and there was limited discussion on the general budget dollars because it was just handed out. Go do your homework and come back to the next meeting. July 24th, municipal leaders were in place to hear from the chief at Village of Oconomowoc Lake. We met. The chief presented how negatively impacted LCFR will be if the IMA contract funding formula is not broken to exceed the spending limit. Multiple leaders at that meeting suggested we make commitments to amend the IMA that night. Consensus was, however, that we take the information from that meeting and then the result of the fire board budget process to our municipal elected officials. Step 1 of me following up on that meeting. So I'm presenting what I know to you. August 7th at Neshota. I know Dirk was there, Tom was there, I was there, Kent Atwell was there, who's a fire board member, and so was Alderperson Grimmer. It was the workshop demonstration at the Neshota training facility. Fantastic demo of what the fire crew is capable of. They walked us through what a structure fire looks like when there's 2 people that show up versus 4 people that show up. And also an EMS call demo where someone with the signs of perhaps having a heart attack or something, how quickly they can render aid and all that with 4 people, 3 people versus 2 people, which is, and very often they're at 2 people with the current staffing levels. There was an absolutely clear demonstration of the exponential efficiencies and timeliness of rescue with more than 2 people on site. There's no denying more people, more money, more resources is a benefit to the people that need it. And also my conclusion, I mean, it's not, everyone knows it. LCFR has really talented, dedicated staff that are really just looking for the tools and the help to expedite rescues. Then at last week, August 14th, the city of Delafield Fire Station, the fire board had another budget meeting. It was the first active engagement and question answer by the board and the staff on the budget. You know, asking questions about the numbers, staffing levels, ideas for staffing levels. Matt had some good suggestions. And right then at that meeting, there was support from several board members to somehow fund the 22% or $900,000 increase in spending. Some members asked for more granularity into some of the larger dollar items to figure out where they were going, and also historical perspective from prior years to compare how the increases have occurred over the years and that. So that's coming apparently to the next meeting. There was a lot of talk about the compliance with the IMA formula's budget limit, and it was questioned and debated quite a bit about what they're compelled to do as far as adhering to the limit or not. And the next fire board meeting is August 21st at the Delafield station. So with that, I just want to, thanks for your patience in hearing that through. Just want to let you know that this has been an ongoing process. We didn't sit on our hands or throw a bomb over the wall and saying, wait till next year. There's been sometimes very positive, cooperative discussions, and sometimes there was some walls thrown up. But I'll be honestly, I was rather shocked when I saw the budget in July when it was presented. I was fully expecting a CPI plus 2% budget, which is what this quote impasse that was declared by other members would have led us to, and there was consensus that that's what we were headed for. It looks like might be set up for something very similar to what we went through last year, and I want to give you all the information I could. I encourage you to go to the meeting on August 21st, ask for questions, get information, look at the budget. So anyway, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. So that is that concludes my mayor's report. I'd be happy to share the notes I read off of with anyone via email. But again, this will all come to light as you start looking at other things. But so minus any other questions or anything, we can move on. Not that there was any questions yet. Just because I talk for 8 minutes doesn't mean you can't ask a question.
Thank you, though. That was helpful.
All right.
Yeah.
But again, I committed to share what I knew at the meeting and what we were told. So that is what I did.
Are we going to be discussing as far as like what our budget, like when we do our budget workshop? Is that when we're going to?
Well, what we're owed right now is an actionable budget from Lake Country Fire and Rescue Board. That's part of the contract of the process that we're in right now. We're in the middle of it. So we're looking for a product. This will come back up again when we have a product from them to discuss the budget. Is that right, Tom?
Yeah, that's correct. And generally, their budget is pretty much resolved before we get into our budget workshop and whatnot. And at that point, it should just be looking for municipal approval if the process goes how it should. But that wasn't the case last year, obviously.
Okay.
All right. Well, so stay tuned, ask questions, read a lot, stay in touch. All right, item 10, new business. This is exciting, actually. Item 10A, discussion and possible action regarding an access easement for dredging operations by and between Bark River Lot LLC, the grantor, and City of Delafield, the grantee. Tom, you want to fill us in?
Yeah, the city was able to work with the property owner a little bit further up the river. It's a vacant property that the two owners, they own it exclusively to access the river. And so they are very supportive of the city's efforts to dredge both now and into the future. And we're willing to give us a perpetual easement so that the city can access the river both for this dredging and future dredgings. The only cost that the city incurs is that we are responsible for removing and replacing their pier and lift systems anytime there is a dredging project, which is significantly less expense than what we were looking at with the previous easement. So I would recommend approval of this easement. And just kind of an update about dredging. There are 3 different permit amendments required to proceed with the project. We have 2 of those in hand. We're waiting on the 3rd. We are expecting it any day now, and we are still optimistic that we will be dredging this year. Hopefully have equipment in the lake mid to late September.
Terrific.
So who wants to approve?
I will move to approve the easement, the access easement for the dredging operations on the Bark, by and between Bark River Lot.
I would love to second that.
Any discussion?
Just a question, did that save us the $30,000? Wasn't that the cost of the other easement?
It saves us $30,000, but now we will have to hire a contractor that removes their pier and lift system and puts it back in, so that'll be our expense, which will be less than $30,000.
We don't have to do anything to the property itself, as far as
So
filling in or making a temporary road or anything like that?
the one thing that's different is we need to spend some of our dredging money on the river itself to get to this property and back. So that'll slightly decrease the amount of dredging we can accomplish in the lake delta itself.
I do like the word perpetual, which means you can go back to that property, so you can then make your plans accordingly rather than looking for it. So I think it's wonderful.
There'll be one headache removed for
Ew.
future administrative staff on dredging projects.
1 out of 8, yeah. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay, or abstentions? Okay, we have an easement. Item 10B, discussion and possible action on new memorandum of understanding between all municipalities participating at the Suburban Critical Incident Team and the City of Brookfield Fire Department and Tactical Emergency Medical Services. The SCIT provides emergency tactical and support services in high-risk incidents in the City of Delafield and all participating municipalities. Chief, would you like to tell us what's going on?
Yeah, first I want to apologize for all the acronyms. We're cops, we love TLAs, 3-letter acronyms. What we're looking for is an MOU with City of Brookfield Fire Department. This is for paramedics that enter into crisis situations with our tactical team, and they're literally with the officers shoulder to shoulder. They're unarmed, but they're geared up with medical supplies, full armor, and they're there to help if the worst happens. The City of Brookfield and Lake Country Fire have been providing this service under mutual aid for quite some time now. This formalizes it and brings it under the same methods we're doing with the other municipalities for the tactical team. So the financial burdens are the same. In normal day-to-day operations, every department pays their own people. The only time if we are a requesting agency, so if we call the SWAT team into Delafield and something terrible happens, then it operates under normal mutual aid. So if there's a severe injury to an officer, or in this case a paramedic, then we would be responsible for that. And that's the same way it works for our tactical team members on the law enforcement side. I've worked with the fire chief with Lake Country Fire and Rescue to verify that this agreement doesn't impact our agreement with them. They wholeheartedly support this because it takes all of the TEM's responsibilities off their shoulders and kind of spreads it across with Brookfield. So we've got a bigger pool of people spreading that responsibility. Any questions?
All right, so we need a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding.
I move to approve the memo of understanding between all municipalities participating in the SCIT with the City of Brookfield Fire Department for Tactical Emergency Medical Services.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, very good.
Thank you.
Proceed. Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
All right, item 10C, discussion on possible action regarding ordinance number 834, establishing a premier economic development district, amending section 448 of the municipal code. Mr. Hafner, could you fill us in on this?
Yeah, with the city of Delafield out of liquor licenses, it was actually our city clerk who should be credited with identifying an opportunity for the city to gain 2 more licenses. State statutes allow a municipality to create what's called a premier economic development district. To be classified as that, it needs to be a contiguous boundary of 40 acres or less, where there is active development activity happening, including new development with a value of $20 million or more. A third-party independent appraisal was required to confirm that. We did obtain that appraisal, and we did meet the $20 million requirement, exceeded that with just the grain alone. And with that, the ordinance before you would create that premier economic development district. And the one thing that I want to highlight in there is so with the creation of the district, it gives us 2 more licenses. And for those 2 licenses, we're proposing that instead of a $30,000 fee, that the fee be $35,000. And what we're trying to do there is recapture the costs that we incurred to create the district. The appraisal alone was $4,500. There were legal fees and engineer and planning fees. And then Molly and I both had time invested in it. So with the $35,000 fee for those 2 licenses, that would be $10,000 more than normal, $5,000 each, and that should recoup the costs that we incurred. Any questions on that?
Tom, can you tell us where exactly that development district is?
Yeah, so did you see that there is a map in your packet? And it's primarily the downtown area, but it is kind of a disjointed shape where we really tried to capture the CBD1 and CBD2 properties, and also any other properties that we identified could likely be in for development in the future, such as the post office.
I'm going to correct Tom. It looks like the map is not included in the,
I apologize. That was
Packet.
intended to be,
that's my, I thought it was attached to the ordinance, and apparently I did not do that, so I apologize for that.
so it's largely centered around, goes a little bit south of City Hall, north to the post office, and roughly Oneida Street to the Well Street Station Apartments to the west. And so with any motion, I would encourage you to make it contingent upon adding the map to the ordinance.
I think it's a great idea, and I will so move to approve what did you call this? The Premier Economic Development District, providing a map as proposed.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
I do need it
A roll
requires
call.
a full 2/3 vote.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I would like to have a roll call just so that we're sure that,
Let's have a roll call vote. It says it right here.
and Henry, you
call
have a
vote.
second on that?
Yes, that's me.
Henry,
Aye.
Schaefer,
Aye.
Valdy,
Aye.
Wilkin,
Aye.
Grimmer is out, Price,
Aye.
Berg.
Aye.
I will say that motion passes. Item 10D, discussion and possible action regarding the adoption of Resolution 2024-06, a resolution terminating TID 4. What do you got here, Tom?
Yeah, TID 4 was created in 2012, and it was for the Delafield Woods development. And The TID was a little bit under $1 million. I think it might have been $950,000, if I recall correctly. It did cover some of the developer's costs, namely with some of the utilities involved and utility connections. But it was also used to do some long overdue projects that the city was looking for as well. It oversized the stormwater basin involved with that development to capture some runoff that was creating problems prior to the development and resolving that. And then it also was used to pay for a segment of the Lake Country Trail upgrade along Wells Street. And with that being said, we were expecting that district to be paid off in 15 years. It performed better than we expected and will now be paid off in 13 years. The last increment that will be used to pay off the project expenses is the 2024 levy to pay off for the 2025 budget. And after that, roughly $6.5 million will be returned to the levy rather than being used to pay off the increment. And one somewhat negative aspect of that is the Wisconsin legislature included a provision for taxpayer relief where anytime you have an increment that gets added to the tax base, you can only take credit for half of that for purposes of increase to your levy limit, but at least it'll be something.
I'll make a motion to approve the adoption of the resolution 2024 through 2026, and resolution terminating TID 4.
Second.
Any discussion? I'll ask a question. Do we have any active TIFs with this gone?
We do not.
All right. Any other questions?
This is the only TID we've had in the last 25 years.
All those in favor say aye. Oh, well, let's do a roll
Aye.
call vote. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's a roll call.
Henry,
Aye.
Schaefer,
Aye.
Valdy,
Aye.
Wilkin,
Aye.
Berg, or Price,
Aye.
Berg.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. I will need to highlight instead of circling roll call vote notes moving forward. Okay, item 10E, review of the 2023 City of Delafield audit, including the financial statement overview, financial statements, independent auditor's report, and required audit communications for the city council as prepared by Johnson Black and Company.
We did have another healthy year finance-wise. In your packet, there is a one-page summary put together by our auditor, Kevin Krasinski with Johnson Black. He always asks me if he would like, if the council would like him to participate, so that option's always out there. He could join us virtually if you have questions for him, but in the past, we've had very few questions for him, and so typically I've just covered it. But from the very high level, we did have a increase in our general fund unassigned fund balance of about $123,000 year over year. And so if you recall, our goal for unassigned fund balance is 20% of annual expenses. And this increases us from, we were at 22.75% last year, and now we're at 24.10%. So that's a positive development. Other than that, our utilities perform very well. They are very healthy. As far as amount of debt that we have out there, we only we're only using 12% of our legal debt limit. We have $14 million in debt when legally we're allowed to have $115 million. And I'll also refer you to the required audit communications. And there are a couple of comments that they had as far as kind of weaknesses. And these are things that get hit on year over year. We've got a very lean staff, so there's limited internal controls that they always highlight. And then the other one that they had is developer chargeback fund deficit. They noted that there is like a 2-month delay typically from tasks occurring for developers then we get the bill from our city engineer or our city attorney, and then another month before we get the bills out to the people. So they did identify that, and that led to like a $18,000 end-of-year deficit in that, but it's just really a timing issue of when the bills go out and the payments come in. Any questions on that, or is there a desire to speak to our city auditor at all? Okay.
Tom, I have a question for you. They make a soft recommendation for documentation of the closing the financial statements at the end of the year and as a part of this. Is that something we've looked at? That's on page, I'm sorry, it's on page 6 of the audit, of the, which document do I
Is
have?
that the communications?
Yes. It's right near the end before they sign it. I'm just, I guess, without asking you, what I suggest we just look at that and see what that consulting fee would cost if they want to help us with that. Looking for next year's budget.
I will do that.
Does anybody else have any questions or suggestions, or like to move to approve it, to accept it? Do we need a motion to accept this?
We do not.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? If you didn't read it all after you're done with the fireboard stuff, and then hit Tom up. Okay. Item 10F, approval of vouchers payable for the reporting dates of July 17th, 2024 through August 20th, 2024, in the amount of $685,104.66.
I so move to approve the voucher list.
A second?
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Or abstentions? Okay, voucher lift is approved. City officials' reports. We'll start out with 11A. Tom.
Yeah, the first one is I do have an update regarding the quiet zone implementation for the railroad crossing on Vettleson Road. As you'll recall, our required notice of intent went out to all the required railroad agencies. That went out in late May, and that was a 60-day required notice. We received no comments back. That notice period concluded at the end of July. And I think about a week or two into August, we got out what's called the required notice of establishment. First one was notice of intent, second one notice of establishment. This one's a 21-day required period before you can create what's called the establishment date that the quiet zone will take effect. We set that date as September 4th. So starting at midnight on September 4th, you shouldn't hear that train horn any longer. It's been an odd process. We've received zero feedback, communication, responses from many of the entities involved. So I'm cautiously optimistic that everything's in place and we're good to go. But after September 4th, if you hear the train horn, let me know.
Tom, do you have to put up signs in advance of that or afterwards?
We do have to put up signs in advance of that. It's going to simply, right now, there's existing signs out there. They're round. They say RR crossing. And these new signs that we have to put out will go right on the same post, right under them. They just say no train horn. And we're going to put those up as late in the day as possible on September 3rd.
Great, thank you.
The second item, which was requested by Alderperson Price, was an update regarding doing some research on other municipalities' tree preservation ordinances pertaining to private single-family residential properties. It's something that I've been able to fit into my schedule piecemeal here and there, given other priorities. So far, I've looked into the city of Brookfield, Village of Shaniqua, and Waukesha County. What I found so far, the city of Brookfield, they have very minimal restrictions, very similar to us, just some restrictions in environmental corridor. The Village of Shaniqua also currently have no restrictions, but they also have elected officials that is interested in doing something, and they are currently looking into it like we are. And then Waukesha County, they have a certain distance from shoreline where they have a restriction on tree removal. So that's where I am right now. And, if there's any direction on other municipalities to take a look at or whatnot before I put together a summary of results, let me know.
Thank you.
And we looked at the DNR. They have some interesting guidelines that might have some valuable,
On the DNR,
yeah,
I don't know
related
that
to
they regulate tree
late-
removal.
on lake property. It's related to lake property.
I
Removal.
I don't believe they do. Incorporated areas regulate it themselves, and unincorporated areas are regulated by the county.
Wasn't there a situation on Akachi Lake 5, 6 years ago where a guy had a number of huge trees taken down, and the city fined him, or the DNR fined him $200,000? I heard that. I'm not exactly sure who actually did the fine, but I thought.
I remember an incident like that where someone brought in a lot of sand and put it in the lake. Is that what you're talking
No,
about?
they were cutting down trees.
You know,
There was a big fine from somebody. I'm guessing it would have to be DNR, because I don't think Akachi could do that. But
well, typically, Okachi would be the ones that would have the regulation, that would enforce it. The only thing I can think of is if it was on DNR property or something like that, or state property that the clearing happened on.
I'd say since
I'll
this,
find the document. Maybe it wasn't DNR, it was some state entity.
since this is part of the report section, it's not really up for, I mean, you can ask questions.
I'll
on that.
look up the document.
It'd be
It might
helpful,
have
if,
some
like Tom
value.
suggested, if you've got a municipality that has a particular ordinance that you think targets things well, or incidents like that, would be helpful if you wanted to,
I'll just send it to Tom.
yeah,
there's
consolidate
anything
those
value
and send him an email so he's got the information. That'd be helpful.
thank you.
Please do, yep.
Is this in response to anything other than the one incident that, on the lake that?
I would look at Paul to answer that.
Yeah, that's
Do we-
when
do we have any
it
further
came up,
problems?
when there was a lake property, we just totally cut down.
So this is in response to one?
Yeah.
Weber Court?
No, I've been concerned, just in my neighborhood, people have completely clear cut their lots, and they can, and there's no ordinance, and yet we limit cutting. It's not staying on.
Just a reminder, this is not an item for discussion. Sorry about that, folks.
If you've got ideas, or like I said, send Tom some information and there'll be a report. We'll bring it up for discussion then if there's something maybe actionable. Anything else, Tom?
The only other thing I'll mention is we did receive both written briefs were submitted for the closing of the contested case hearing. Those are public records, so if anybody is interested in seeing either the plaintiff's briefs or the defendant's briefs, let me know and I can share those with you.
Okay, thanks, Tom. 11B, City Clerk reports. How's the election going, or how'd it go?
I was surprised by the number, like the higher turnout that we had for this particular partisan primary. It has not been this high in the past. I think everything went well. We had minimal wait times, if any. I don't even think that we, made it into the, well, we didn't even have to put up like the stanchion kind of zigzag maze. So that was great. Still another election that we were hoping would have a little bit more turnout so we could get a better read on how it was going to be for the upcoming presidential. That was a little busier. But I provided some statistics. I've gone back to about 2020. I think the election climate has changed quite a bit since then. So this kind of provides, 2020 obviously was COVID, so that's kind of completely off the wall. But then I'm trying to get a bigger picture of not only the absentee, but I want to know who has come in person versus the mail absentee. So this provides a breakdown of the people who do the in-person absentee, do the actual mail-in absentee, and then show up in person to vote, to just kind of give a nice round picture of what we deal with on the election day.
Any questions? Thanks, Melly. 11C, City Treasurer, I refer you to the packet for the report. And any council requests for future agenda items? Oh, as always, email if you would like something added to the agenda. I defer you to the packet for correspondence. And then item 13, announcement for matters for possible closed session. Should I read them both, Molly? Item
Yes,
1 and 2,
please
okay.
read them both.
The council reconvene into open session after the completion of the closed session to consider the balance of the agenda, which the balance of the agenda is just results of the closed session and an adjournment for those interested. 13A, motion to convene in closed session pursuant to the following provisions. Item I, motion to convene in closed session pursuant to the provisions of Wisconsin Statute 1985 1E, deliberating or negotiating with the purchasing of public properties, investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. More specifically, a tentative agreement of the City of Delafield and the Delafield Professional Police Association regarding the terms of the 2024-2026 collective bargaining agreement. And item 13A II, motion to convene in closed session pursuant to provisions of Wisconsin Statute 1985 1C concerning employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. More specifically, 2024 retroactive wage increases for most non-representative regular city employees. We're looking for a motion to go into closed session.
I move to go into closed session.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. I got that one. And there was no note.
Henry,
Aye.
Schaefer,
Aye.
Daldy,
Aye.
Wilkin,
Aye.
Price,
Aye.
Berg.
Aye.
And again, Grimmer is excused this evening.
Did you get, who made this?
I have, this is for the return back.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. All right. We are now in closed session. Okay, looking for a motion to come into open session.
I move to reconvene into open session.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote, and it is at 8:42. Henry,
Aye.
Schaefer,
Aye.
Valdi,
Aye.
Wilkins,
Aye.
Price,
Aye.
Berg.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. We are now in open session. So discussion and possible action regarding items discussed in closed session. Regarding, first item would be the Delafield Police Association agreement. Would anybody care to make a motion to approve or deny the agreement between the City of Delafield and Delafield Professional Police Association?
I move to approve the, how does that one work? Well, yeah, okay, so I move to approve the agreement with the Police Commission. I don't know how, where's the, I'm sorry. The tentative agreement between the City of Delafield and Delafield Professional Police Association regarding the terms for 2024 through 2026 collective bargaining agreement. Is that right? Okay.
Second?
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Or abstentions? Okay, motion passes. Okay, next item. Possible wage increase for non-represented employees.
I move to approve an additional 2% retroactive wage increase for non-represented regular city employees currently employed by the city, consisting of 1%, which is already approved for the 2024 budget, and an additional 1% being approved at this time, effective January 1st, 2024.
Second?
Oh, I'm sorry, to include the city administrator and the chief of police.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Abstentions? Okay, motion carries. All right, seeing no further action, the meeting is now adjourned at 8:45 PM.